Alright, geeks, so Darron Brown here, and in this video is titled Invest in Yourself. Now, the purpose of this video is I want to tell you guys my story of getting my first job out of college and the things that I've learned within that first employment job, and how I think that you guys should actually walk when you get your first job straight out of college. Now, invest in yourself. The main point is you don't owe anybody anything. So what do I mean by that? A lot of times when I first got to college, I knew that I had an interview with Google a week before I graduated, and then I had an interview with Facebook, and then I had a few interviews here and there. I went from January to May looking for jobs as a data analyst. I didn't get any callbacks. I had 0 interviews for that. But then once I posted my projects, I started getting a lot more interviews for like software mobile development specifically. And I started that journey in May, late April, and it took me 3 months to get a job. Now, I negotiated for a pretty good salary at my first job, but I was so grateful for getting this job. I wanted to step in first day and then just like hit the ground like fire in my ass. I wanted to make sure I got through all the tasks. I did everything they needed me to do and more. And I thought that this would make me look like a good employee. It actually makes you look like people take advantage of you. I had coworkers who I would outwork. A lot of those guys, they had way more experience in software development than I did, but I was putting in a lot more effort. And one of the guys actually told me, he's like, man, if you do all this, he's like, they're gonna have this expectation for the long run. And he was true. When he told me that, it made sense right on the spot, and then I kind of changed my flow from there. And what you'll realize is it's similar to like dating, man. Like if you go into a situation where you just met a female, and then you're giving her all this stuff, you're putting all this energy, you putting out this relationship vibe, she's not gonna appreciate it. And if you do that and bring that to your company, they're not gonna appreciate it. They're not gonna say like, wow, Darron worked so hard, we should have paid him more. No, they're gonna say, whoa, they're gonna have that expectation for you all the time. And then when you start slacking, they're gonna have the nerve to say, oh wow, there's something going on in personal life, we just noticed your work ethic has gotten a lot worse, and is there anything we can do? And you just basically trapped yourself. It's way better to start the opposite way, where you're going in there half-assed, you just do whatever they ask you to do, you stick to doing exactly what they tell you to do. Because if you do more than that, if you stick to that and then you increase that over time, they'll come to you like, wow, we can see your work ethic's going up, everybody's noticing, they can basically, that might even lead to a promotion, but the point is that you don't want to overexert yourself, especially for another company. If you're going to put any kind of work in, you should put work into either learning more about software development outside of your job, outside of what your task is at your job. You're actually investing in some kind of like Amazon, I can think AWS certificate, or you're doing something with MongoDB, or you're trying to get some kind of certification. You should put your extra effort into yourself, because this company may not be here, a year or two from now. You'll see that with a lot of companies. They'll even tell you like, you see this with startups a lot. They'll tell you like, hey, this is what we're paying you, and you may be required to do more than what's asked on the contract, and then also we may require you to work more hours. So although they require all this, they never put in that contract that, oh, if that does happen, we're willing to renegotiate this contract. It's like, no, this is what you're going to do. You don't want to create that expectation for yourself. I was, at my last job, this was something that bothered me. I set my schedule up from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's when I wanted to go home, put in my 8 hours, and I took care of business when I was there. And what I hated was that we would have deadlines for projects, but people would be sitting around talking the whole time. People would be talking during the week, spending like hours talking, or have hour-long breaks, and then we would be late for a deadline, and then the boss would want me to stay extra hours or wants me to come in on the weekend. And there's going to be times when you need to do that, but that shouldn't be an everyday thing. It shouldn't even be an every week thing. And one of the things that I mentioned to him was like, look, man, I don't mind coming in, but you notice people talk all the time. We had a survey, I believe COO, I can't remember what it was. CEO, but we had like a little survey. One of the things he put all the stuff that he noticed. And one of those options was talking too much. Everybody had a chance to pick 3 things where we can improve on. Nobody put talking too much but me, because I had noticed the same thing. People would sit there, he would come in, like the COO, he would see people just chitter-chatting, and he was wondering like, hey, why is this happening? And I mentioned that to my boss, like, you haven't mentioned once that, hey, you guys should stop talking, we should be focused on the task, we have a deadline. So my boss, he felt like because they paid me a salary, I should work whatever hours they want me to work, and I should come in on my weekends whenever they want me to. Hell no, not happening. Next is set your boundaries. Now, when you first start working, you have to be aware of like the social dynamics. For me, I'm a pretty well-dressed person. I dress pretty well. I don't dress like the typical modern engineer. It's so funny because in the 80s, engineers used to wear like these half-collar shirts and these long black ties, and they were basically sitting in a dungeon. But now engineers basically dress like shit most of the time, very casual. And me, I would wear like dress shoes, I would wear my dress boots, I would wear, my slacks. I was on point, like I was going on a date. And the reason I was dressed like that is because I got my master's in the School of Business. And I went from playing ball where I was just wearing sweats. I was like, I can't dress like this. So because I was in the School of Business, I was around professionals, I had a professional attire. And I'm also in pretty good shape. So I intimidated a lot of guys in the workplace, and then they would ask me questions like, hey, Darron, look at your shoes. And I'd be like, hey man, stop checking me out. I would say it just like that in front of everybody, people start laughing. But you have to set these boundaries. So basically, people are trying to poke to see what they can get away with. And then people also gonna try to disrespect you. They will try to whatever your opinions, will try to shut your opinions down or whatnot. I had people talking to me about React Native who never even worked in React Native. Didn't know jack shit about React Native. And they're more senior than I was, but the thing is they were more intimidated by me. So you're gonna have to basically set your boundaries with coworkers and with your boss, man. One of the things my boss, he said to me was that he respected I was blunt, because some people be so wishy-washy, and he would check in on people about projects, and they would tell him like, oh, I got so much this and that going on, and he would ask me, and I'm like, hey man, when I spoke to that person, I took care of everything I need to take care of. You see, we have our morning meetings. You can see what tasks I'm taking care of. I've done what I need to do. And he's like, well, I was like, hey, he didn't tell me that. So we walked out of that meeting, and then my boss asked that guy, I was like, hey, do you need to run? He was like, oh, no, we good. So it was contradicting messages. The guy would tell him one day that, he has all this stuff. Well, 1 second he has all this stuff, and then the next second say, oh, no, we're good. He's doing everything. So the point is that basically you want to set your boundaries, and then you never know who's going to appreciate. Some people may appreciate that, everybody has a life, man. And if you're out there, and if your boss is trying to get you to work more hours and you stand up to him, you never know. He might be one of those bosses that get anal about it, which lets you know the character of that boss. So he might say, you know what, I respect that, because I have a family, I have things going on in my life too. So just do your 8 hours and go home. Some people are cool with that, but not everybody. And remember, no matter how hard you work for this company, they'll always find something for you to do. It's just like busy work. Like, in college, man, for whatever reason, college is all about making money. Even in grad school, you don't make as much money in grade school, those schools, but they'll give you work. You'll finish your task, and they'll just give you busy work to do. And in college, the way that they do that is that you'll have a major in business, but you'll be taking sexology classes and humanity classes. You got to take all these elective classes. It's also for the cost. They want you to pay as much possible. They want to get as much money out of you before you move on. You could cut your tuition in half just by not taking any of those unnecessary PE courses or those prereqs. You don't need any of that. If you want to take it, cool. But the same thing happens in the real world. They'll give you more tasks to do. They'll give you things like, like I said, I was responding to people's emails. I was doing more than just, I was managing the project. I was designing the project. I had to set up meetings. I had to take care of documentation. I do a lot of things, and it's never ending. You believe that, oh man, if I keep doing this, that eventually, it will end, and I can go to the next thing. No, it doesn't work. I had an engineer that actually worked for the military, and he did I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but he created code to basically control the bombs on planes. And he was pretty legit. He came to our company, but he came with the expectation of learning different tech stack. He came in as a C# developer, I believe, C or C#, and he was working on this app. But C or C#, that's not like modern tech. He wants to work with modern tools so that he can basically take those tools and apply them to like different, apply it to his resume so he can apply for other jobs in the future. So the company I worked for, they promised him that, but he didn't get that. He was working on some old tech, and he was busting his ass so that he can get through all that and start working on the mobile app with me. Never happened. And he realized it was never going to happen. So what he did was he just started looking for another job. And he came into work one day. I could tell that his energy when he came to the workplace was completely different. I'm still cool with this guy. We play fantasy ball. He invites me every year. But he came into work one day and he just let us know, like, hey, I'm out. I found a new job, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I told him, like, man, I knew when I saw you talking outside and smiling. And he's like, oh, man, you noticed that? I was like, yeah, I noticed that. He was like, you're good with people skills, man. But my point is that, man, you know, there's always going to be something for you to do. So don't think that, you know, if you finish all your tasks and it's like, oh, you know what, take the day early home or you can just relax. No. So my point is that you want to go in there, and it's so funny because I'm creating my own business. Eventually I'm going to be hiring people. But you don't want to be taken advantage of, put it like that. So basically help yourself out by doing just the tasks that they ask you to do and the time span you're supposed to do it. And then if there's like a promised raise or you can see something happening in the future, then you can increase your workload. But, okay? So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions about React Native, feel free to reach out. And thank you for watching. Peace.